you talked about compliance, and I think most people in this room will agree that that perhaps is the stuff of nightmares currently as far as the fintech business is concerned. Would you agree?
I think for some, not in all sectors.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this over the years, Shreen. I think we are not the startup ecosystem is not traditionally used to the idea of operating in regulated businesses.
But you are in a regulated business.
We are.
Yeah.
And I think we knew that we were eyes wide open, so knock on wood, till date, we've not had a serious regulatory issue, but it's not in the nature of startups and young entrepreneurs to think about compliance first. You can operate. Engineering brains will work within the law if they understand the law. Regulation is more dynamic. I think that's one difference. The second thing, and here I feel bad for the regulators as well, technology is changing so fast.
Yeah.
I don't think either side knows exactly what tech-enabled solutions they find aspirational and which ones are not good at scale. Let's just take the credit example. If you use AI to start coming out with new credit scoring systems, a lot of people might be able to get access to credit, but some could be frozen permanently from credit. Right? There's two sides to the same coin.
Yeah.
And I think regulation will follow in almost every sector in fintech. We are seeing regulation following the innovation cycle, not just in India, globally. And it's because everyone's trying to see, okay, how far can technology take us? And then there's course correction. In a startup model, that's obviously highly disruptive because where you are innovating is basically the gray. And the gray is the part that's not been regulated yet. Right? So it's a bit of a chicken and egg game. That's the market.
It is a chicken and egg game, and as you rightly pointed out, I mean, this is not a new story. Regulation has always followed innovation, and innovation has kept pace with tech changes, and that we're seeing globally as well. But how much of your aspirations do you feel today are constrained on account of current regulations, but B, also on account of regulatory uncertainty? Are there things that you would like to do that you don't do because you're worried about how it may go down with the regulator? And a second question on that, because this is again something that has divided, the big sort of banks and NBFCs as well as the fintechs, because the banks say, look, you're playing with the big boys and you better play with the big boy rules. And startups are saying that perhaps we need a different set of rules. We need a different playbook as far as rules and regulations are concerned. What do you think?
I can see where the banks are coming from because the fact of the matter is they have a much higher level of compliance to deal with. See, if fintechs are going to push the boundaries in terms of understanding what kind of experiences and features Gen Zs and Gen As need, a conventional banker was never expected to think about how a 15-year-old using a mobile app is going to use banking solutions or payment solutions. Just 10 years ago, I mean, that was just not an expectation. With the fintech industry, it's a frontline expectation. So you will find green spaces, attract capital, and then try and accelerate. I think that the first problem that's happening is today a new feature or app can reach 10 million, 20, 30 million people in such a quick time span. And that means that the window for the regulator to make up their mind on whether this is kosher or not is extremely narrow.
Yeah.
That also means that startups are constantly trying to differentiate themselves because the moats don't last that long, right? So now, if you worry about the compliance too much upfront, you may not get off the ground. You may not start running the race. But if you run too fast, you'll crash and burn. So that's what I'm saying. It's just a constant calibration game. And when we started out, the model we adopted at PhonePe was go where the regulator is going. So UPI, BBPS, like jump on the DPI bandwagon instead of resisting it. But what that meant is while we have a wallet license for the last 8 years, most people in the audience would not have used the PhonePe wallet compared to, say, a Paytm wallet.
Yeah.
Right? Or a MobiKwik wallet. So we've lowballed our ambitions on certain areas where we think that the headwinds are stronger than the tailwinds. And we've accelerated on the ones where the regulatory environments are positive.
Let's talk about your international aspirations. You gave us a quick glimpse of what we could expect on that front. I mean, you're going up against the global big boys. The appetite that you have the playbook that you're going to use, the aspiration over the next 5 years on that front?
If you go back just 7 odd years, 2016, 17, when Google Pay and WhatsApp Pay and Amazon Pay and everybody else on the planet entered the Indian market, nobody gave us a chance, and here we still are. So if we can't aspire to go global, who can? So that's the answer to the first part. I think we should aspire to go global. I think more and more Indian startups, I think, are finding their strut and saying we can play globally. Because you test with several hundred million users here, and they're very, very diverse users. So why can't I build for the Middle East or Europe or the US or any other market? Second, we have incredible investors backing us, and these are all global investors from Walmart and Microsoft and Tencent to sovereigns. And they're telling us, hey, there's nothing stopping you. We've seen the best globally, and we think that you can partake. So we're going to try and participate. So next 5 years, I know we get up to Europe within the next 5.
For more news and updates, all you need to do is follow CNBC TV 18 on all of our digital platforms.